The single use are very problematic, but also when we look at those garbage bags that we use to take out the lawn or whatnot, those have a lot of toxins in them, and they're a little bit thicker than your average Walmart bag. So those can actually be more difficult to recycle than your general plastic white bag.
Now, given what we've seen from the Trump administration, there seems to be this perception that the U.S. is really behind this global initiative, or behind when it comes to the global initiative to reduce plastic waste. Is that a fair assessment?
I would say that it's fair in the sense that we are not at the table with other countries that are signing on and saying, hey, we're going to make a serious commitment to stopping our plastic waste. However, we do have states like we have California and we have even Maryland that's looking at a plastic bag ban that are doing what they need to do to reduce those efforts. So if we have more states that can do that and more cities that are doing that, the better.
And how far do some of these stands that individual states and communities are taking, how far does that go to offset what we're not seeing at the federal level?
I think it can go far, but it also is about the way that you do it. So a lot of that research looks at, okay, if you do a just straight plastic bag ban, what happens is more people start buying those heavy grocery bags and those heavy plastic bags that we saw, and even paper bags, and that can add a lot more waste. But if you add a fine and you say, hey, it's 10 cents per bag or 5 cents per bag, people will consciously use less, but they'll also reuse those bags. So instead of going and getting separate plastic, heavier trash bags for your doggy waste, you'll just use that plastic bag that you spent 5 cents for.
Now, how do these efforts compare to some of these recently enacted rules in other parts of the world? For example, last summer, some African countries decided that people can't even bring plastic bags into the country or even bring them into public spaces.
Well, yeah, we're not that extreme yet. And I think that it takes away from a little bit of the autonomy of America. So we're a country that's very about independence, and we want to be able to do things on the quick and on the go. So we would really have to change a lot of our lifestyle if we wanted to ban single-use plastics. And it's not that it's impossible. I think that there are other countries that are consciously changing over so many other aspects of their society. So fitting in a plastic bag ban kind of fits in a little bit better than in the United States, where we're really just taking baby steps, and we really should be doing more.
And we've really seen it's really, for some countries, it's a question of incentives. For others, it's more about the punishments to really try and reduce single plastic use. But what about managing plastic that's already in circulation?
Managing plastic that's already in circulation can be really tough. And it's also about, we have to reduce that as much as possible. How can we use plastics that can also be properly recycled? So if we're using plastics that are not just these flimsy, flammy, single use, then we can use that and change it into something else. And that's what we're trying to hope for. And there's also the question of, when we reduce the amount of plastic that we use, then we're not having it sent back from Malaysia and from other countries where we're trying to send our waste, because there's only so many places where we can actually send this waste, and people don't want to deal with us. So what ends up happening is incinerators. And if we have incinerators, that means that we're going to be burning those toxins in communities. So when you see countries in Africa and other places around the globe that are reducing their plastic ban, what they're also doing is they're reducing the harmful toxins that come off of burning plastic. And that's really important too.
Now, we did see in places like the UK where you can still get the milk delivered in glass bottles that you then put out the next morning to get taken out. I know in Ghana, sodas used to come in glass bottles. You would sort of send them out, get your sodas refilled. Before all this reliance on plastic, are we seeing any sorts of returns to some of these old school methods of sort of reusing and upcycling?
Yeah, I think you do. I think here in the United States, you see more companies that are looking at milk delivery. You're seeing wholesale usage at places like Whole Foods or at natural grocery stores, where you can go and buy your grains and use your own bags. And even restaurants that are saying, hey, we're not going to use these takeout carriers anymore. Bring your own carriers, bring your own Tupperware, and you can use that for your leftovers.
And just quickly, do the types of changes that we've seen at the state and local level, are they creative enough? Or what would you say is the most creative ways you're seeing people try and offset some of these bans?
Wow, I think that the ways that people are being creative, you're seeing on the grassroots level, the people who cannot afford to have all of these different reusable and renewable bags every single day, I think those are where you're seeing the creativity. And I also think that banning plastic bags is can be good, but think about all the different ways that people use plastic bags every single day, whether you're using it to cook with frying chicken, or you're using it for your hair. A lot of people might use it as a shower cap. So I think those ingenuities are oftentimes overlooked. But I also think that the creative ways are even looking at our arts and our culture. So people are utilizing these single-use plastics and thinking, how can we make art out of them? How can we make forms of clothing out of them? And I think that's a really creative way that we can try and think about upcycling.